What's going on, everybody? You're watching HBCU Game Day, and this is SJG, and it's actually a special episode, impromptu live episode of Verified Sources with SJG. I'm Stephen J. Gaither, your host, and we've got a guest coming up really soon. Going to be getting him on here to talk about a couple of things, but specifically a new series that he's starting on the campus of Jackson State University. I believe is going to be the first event tomorrow, September 12th. So I look forward to getting Dr. Kenyatta Cavil on to talk about that shortly. And also, obviously, the big news of the day, we've been following it all day. If you've been paying attention to us on our website or on our social media, and I would advise everybody watching for sure, if you can, please go ahead and download the HBCU Game Day app. That's the best way to keep up with all of the news that we come out with every day. Shout out to Southbound 3000, JSU in the building. Yeah. Hope everybody is well over there at Jackson State University, as well as with all of our campuses. Unless you guys have not been paying attention, today, which is oddly enough September 11th, a number of HBCU campuses have or are currently on lockdown. And so, we're definitely trying to keep everybody abreast of everything that's going on there. And but while we do that, let us bring in Dr. Cavil. Hey, how you doing today, Doc?
I'm doing pretty well, and yourself?
Doing well. I definitely appreciate you for giving me your time and letting us kind of get your expertise. I know you are in the middle of your day, and I know you're going over to Jackson State tomorrow, so travel day for you certainly coming up. I know how those things can go, but I appreciate your time. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good, despite some of the news that is coming out there, which is a little disconcerting, but thus far, we're moving forward at Texas Southern University, and I can say as far as Prairie View A&M University, our sister public institution, down 290 at this point, we are moving forward, and all is well. Safety is certainly first and foremost in terms of what we do at the university to protect our students, staff, and faculty, particularly those in the college education here at Texas Southern University. But as you alluded to, besides that, I'm excited about what we're trying to put together for tomorrow at Jackson State University, working with Ashley Robinson, the Vice President and Director of Athletics.
Yeah, no doubt. I hit you up earlier today, just check on you, see how you were doing with the with everything that was going on, because it just kind of started off as you saw one school, and then I believe Virginia State was the first one, and then a flurry of universities, and it's just kind of like, okay, at a certain point, it's like this is a thing. So I'm glad that everybody is doing well over there at Texas Southern, as well as Prairie View. You guys out there out west, glad you guys are doing well. But yeah, talk to us about the series and how it developed and came about.
We started it back this past year, and we had our first event here at Texas Southern University in the college education last May at the end of the semester, and we brought in several of the directors of athletics, as well as a couple of commissioners. But let me first restart that and do it appropriately. Let me say thank you, Stephen, in terms of what you do, in terms of providing a spotlight for our HBCUs. Obviously, a lot of it is in the area of athletics and sporting contests, but you all do beyond that. What you've been able to put together on your platform with HBCU Game Day is second to none, and certainly allows us to stretch things. And so I appreciate this opportunity. But it was a 2-day event, which allowed us to do a Thursday and Friday. It was for our staff and what we call mid-management individuals, as well as our students. So as part of the grant, which I work as a research fellow in terms of the Center for Africana Futures, which is here at Texas Southern University, and under the leadership of the director, Dr. Tanisha Taylor. It's her brainchild, and we co-authored a grant to get it going and get it started. And she is in the Department of Communication Studies in the School of Communications under Dr. Ulassi, my fellow dean of that college over there. So she asked me what were some things I would like to do that connects AI and the future of how we're looking at African Americans, Blacks in that field, particularly in communication. I wanted to connect it with sports. And you could see the natural connection as you're somebody that come out of that professional field, but does your work in terms of the sporting framework, if you would. So that was the impetus and the brainchild. And I said, I would love to do something where we bring in professionals in the field that are operating at extremely high levels and executive level positions and ask them in regards to how did they get started in the field so they could talk to our students and then talk about how they transition from mid-management into executive positions. So it allow our mid-management administrators in the areas and also some of the colleagues, so they can make sure that they're talking beyond their area of spheres of this current changing landscape. So we had discussions on NIL, branding initiatives. What does it mean in terms of this current environment? So we really got a chance in a lot of ways to bring some of our brightest individuals to talk to some of our colleagues, staff, and students, as I said, right here at Texas Southern University in the College of Education.
Yeah, no doubt. Very fascinating stuff. As you say, AI is something that, we all, has impacted us all to varying levels. Of course, there are always a discussion about environmentally sound and, the economics behind it. And of course, those are, things that we all have to worry about and take into concern. But the thing is, it's one of those things where my theory is always it's hard to put the cat back in the bag after it's already been out. So, you either learn how to live with it and adjust with it and try to figure out a way that you move with it ethically, or you resist it and get overwhelmed by it. So, that's it's great to hear that type of thought, that kind of forethought is being put out there, especially as it relates to athletics and especially with HBCUs. So many times we get left behind in certain things like that. And it's great to hear that you guys are really being proactive about it and making sure that, that the things are, going forward.
On one side, I like to call myself a colleague with you, but you're really at the forefront of that. But what I really enjoy talking to you, Tali Carr, Ken Rashad, to be quite frank, is you all allow me to provide an academic perspective of what this looks like. And so we get to kind of really share and create that framework where you all do as much as you do on the professional side of that, but you give back in terms of the academic, going back to your institutions, but it goes beyond that. I'm in a position serving as the dean where I get to have influence on the curriculum development part. So I take this very serious in terms of the opportunity. So I like to be somebody that is not just theoretical, but actually practical. How do we hit the ground and make it go from theoretical to practical, make sure that we're transitioning our students in a way such that they can use what they've learned in the classroom in a very practical way to help develop businesses to make their bottom line and develop that same framework? Or is it about individuals becoming entrepreneurs and starting their own thing in terms of an innovative approach? So those conversations that you have with myself in terms of what that looks like, I literally bring back to the table. And you see this as part of that fruition in terms of conversations that just start oftentimes with hot takes as we're doing the other work that we do. But I'm always searching in terms of what are new ways that we can become better in the academy, particularly in the college education with sports management that we offer here, both as the undergraduate and graduate level, cross over to the School of Communication, where we look at sports entertainment. How do we develop students in a better way? So this is really the outtake of that, where we said, all right, let's bring in our brightest mind. Let's bring in the athletic director from Jackson State University. Let's bring in our athletic director here at Texas Southern University, Dr. Kevin Granger, at the time. And then we brought in Prairie View's athletic director. We actually had a chance to bring in the Alabama State athletic director, Alabama A&M, Dr. Bryant, Dr. Cavil, at Alabama A&M. So there was a way that we had that. We brought in John Grant as a lunch-focused person that talks about moving outside if you just want to work at the institutional level. And again, we started off on the first day, and you'll be excited about this because we didn't want to just make it all major division. We also looked at in terms of diversity of genders, but all those athletic directors had prior engagements, but we're still pushing forward to make sure we cover that as well. But on Thursday, as I get back to it, we brought in the SIAC commissioner, Dr. Holloman. So we partnered that up and provided them two different scenarios for those. Some of them knew Charles McCullen as he was the VP of athletics here before Granger, and now Paula Jackson in terms of what that looks like in those roles. He was able to set the table. Then we got in Dr. Holloman that talked about his career path. And they were similar in some ways and different in some ways. And it gave a lot of students ability to network, ask questions, provide their platform. Again, mid-management folks talked about their goals and what that looks like. And so we did that on Thursday. We gave it a day. We got to meet and have some discussions on what that looks like. How do we move this forward? So there were some goals about how about we take this on the road? How do we go to different institutions? So I sat on that, as I told you earlier, but we finished everything on Friday where we had about 5 different sessions in terms of looking at different ways. We had influencers come in there to talk about doing that type of work. We had NIL specialists coming in, as well as those athletic directors to talk about how are they moving in this current environment. And so after a week, we reviewed it and had a couple of other folks said they really enjoyed it from various angles. That's when I had the idea about taking this on the road. So we have 4 series for this fall. We're starting off, as you opened up and asked, where we start at Jackson State tomorrow. It's from 1 to 3. We'll be in their campus having a meeting where we bring in the commissioner again, Dr. Charles McCullen, for a session where he'll do a session with Ashley Robinson. And we'll talk about how the conferences are moving forward in this current environment. And then the first session will bring in Tuskegee's Reginald Ruffin as athletic, because the game is on Saturday. So we piggyback on that to give folks an entertainment value to come in. They get to stay over for the game. I get a chance to watch and cover that as well. But
we still buy your damn tickets.
Yeah, exactly. Reginald Ruffin was there, and he'll tell everybody about the importance of buying them damn tickets, to your point. And we want to get him to explain why is that more important than ever. So we'll have a session with him, with Ashley, to open things up. Dr. Charles, I should say, he's working on his doctorate, but Charles Bishop will be there. He'll co-moderate the first session, and the second session I'll take up by myself. The next one is in October, that first Friday in October. We'll go up to Norfolk, and we'll get a chance to work with those individuals and take a step outside of the SWAC and open the doors a little bit there. And then in November, we'll come back to the SWAC. We'll go down to Montgomery, Alabama State, and then we'll culminate with an event in Atlanta around the celebration time framework. So we have 4 events that we're really excited about what that looks like, and we'll make it work, getting it going. At this point, we're able to do it without any cost directly for those students involved. So we're excited about that. But as we move forward, we'd like to open it up and do some series that looks at, the state of HBCUs, where we bring in folks, special speakers, and see if there's some fans that have some interest to be able to talk about what they see HBCU sports and putting a nominal fee on it. So that's kind of the future, what we're looking into. And it depends on how well these go this fall series.
Okay, gotcha, man. That's awesome. I love that you're, hitting the different regional areas and making it make sense. Again, having, not only our Ashley Robinson, but also AD Ruffin as well. Talk about Mr. Robinson. This is obviously he's been in the forefront. He's the man that I think there's no thinking. He literally changed college athletics, and I don't think that this is let me know if you think this is too much of a hyperbole, but I think he changed college athletics when you look at him hiring Deion Sanders back in 2020. I mean, he certainly changed HBCU athletics because after him, I mean, of course, we've always seen coaches that are former NFL players at HBCUs, but bringing in someone who had never been a college head coach before, even though we know he had been a coach before, and kind of creating the so-called celebrity hire as a head coach. And now you've seen Eddie George, where that ended up being very successful, maybe a little too successful for Tennessee State University, but also you look at Michael Vick. I mean, what we just saw last week, Michael Vick and Deshaun Jackson. I mean, both of those guys getting their first wins last week, and the excitement that they bring. And you talk about Norfolk, just the economics that that they bring with them as well. But it started with Ashley Robinson making that hire. I mean, he literally changed the course of the world. When you look at what happened with Coach Prime from Jackson State, and then over at Colorado, a Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, he changed the world, I would say. And you knew him before all of that. What is?
Yeah, Ashley Robinson is an innovator. I got a chance to work with Ashley Robinson when he was the VP and athletic director at Prairie A&M University. And I saw him as a very young star and knew that he had a world out there that was waiting for him with individuals that would give him a chance and see him do those things. So one of the reasons we call this the HBCU Sports Ecosystem Series is, to your point in the question you asked there, Stephen, is you're actually right. We have an ecosystem that is naturally encompassing, but oftentimes we have influential things that come out and into the ecosystem, and those things that are in that go outside of the ecosystem. And what you talk about, Ashley Robinson and the dynamic decision he made, which have been many, but that was really one of the first one that became a national, if not international, phenomenon in terms of the decision he ultimately made when he brought in Deion Sanders, known by many as Coach Prime. And some people had some questions about that, but I was very early, and I said, talking to Charles, frankly, and Neely, in terms of the show that they put down and how that has changed some frameworks about how people cover HBCU sports from the inside. But that singular decision in terms of what he brought in with Coach Prime and how they came in, I said it was like a merger. You had a merger with the value and brand of Coach Prime, the brand of Jackson State, the brand of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And then right after that, obviously, you had the expansion and brought in FAMU and Bethune-Cookman, and you add that brand of FAMU. You put all that together, and what it was able to do is change the trajectory of intercollegiate athletic sports, not just in the SWAC, not just in the HBCU sports, but beyond that. I mean, you have obviously Coach Prime end up going over to Colorado, and think about how that has changed the platform. You even ultimately had a guy that became a Heisman Trophy winner that was a freshman at Jackson State, the number one recruit that he was able to bring in there, which changed the dynamic in terms of how we see HBCU sports. You had some folks that were coming back to HBCU sports. Obviously, you talked about Eddie George at Tennessee State, the two current coaches, Coach Jackson and Coach Vick at Norfolk State and Delaware State, respectively. And so you have Trent Gilford at UAB, North Carolina, as they have stretched and decided to go in that same direction with the hire that they had with the legendary coach from New England Patriots. So this goes beyond, and that's just some that we think off the top of our head, and there's many other that have followed. So there's without a doubt, when you talk about Ashley, who won our athletic director of the year, that takes data, measuring points that allows to do that. But it was easy to go to him, and frankly, he was one of the ones that said, let's bring this on the road. Can you bring this to Jackson? And so it was his impetus to talk about that he wanted to bring something else to his students, because he saw all the students that were there at Texas Southern University and his mid-management. So he's always trying to find a way And I get to talk to him as I try to tease him and see if I can get him to get into a doctoral program, because I think he has so much value. Now he can do it without it, but what he could do on the academic side is beyond that. I mean, he has the ability to go beyond just being a VP of athletics. I can see him running the institution as a president. Don't let him tell you that. Hopefully this is not national over the airs, because I didn't tell him that yet, and he might be a little disconcerting about that. But that's just how much I think about it.
Yeah, we're live. Yeah. It's out there now.
Exactly.
Like, what I tell you about the cat,
I say that in Keaton.
the tiger cannot go back in the bag. So
I say that, but I'm comfortable with that, and I stand on it. That's what I mean. And we need individuals like that. We had a show that kind of went viral and other folks picked it up. When you had John Grant, the executive director of Celebration Bowl, he talked about his thoughts on Ashley in terms of another area in regards to branding and understanding how do you take the next level of taking advantage of your institution, making it in the visibility in regards to what the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge, and more importantly, even the Cricket Celebration Bowl goals, and how do you fundraise off of that? How do you generate more ticket sales? How do you take sponsors to the next level? How do you add sponsors? He's doing it at an incredible level. A lot of the other ADs are doing great work. And I will tell you, I get to talk to these athletic directors in many different roles. Hopefully they see what I'm able to do and partner with them and provide them with support in many different ways. Now they do the bunch of the work, but they take that serious about their craft. And while they congratulated Ashley in terms of what he's getting done, many of them are seeking to make sure they do that kind of work, and even more so as they want to be at the top of their list in terms of the director of the year, in terms of the number one rankings, as we rank the top 6 or 7 of them over the last 3 years. And Ashley has won it twice. So credit to him in terms of what that looks like. So a lot of work goes into that. But no, to your point, he is an innovator in terms of what he's able to get done, and he continues to do it. I mean, he brought in Coach Mo, in terms on the basketball side.
Right.
He's a former NBA champion. And last year he was in the championship game. And so you see his trajectory, what he's able to do. You see what he's done with women's basketball, getting a ranking that at that time had never took place, and allowing folks. So he's done it across the board in various different ways in terms of how he's branded that. And so I have a lot of kudos for what Ashley Robinson is getting done at Jackson State University in this current position.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, we're talking with Dr. Kenyatta Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. You're the dean, right? You are because you get a new title. They're always giving you more stuff to do over there at Texas Southern. So I want to make sure I get your title.
Yeah, I'm currently serving as the interim dean as the college education, among other things that they have me do. But that's my most important position that I'm doing at this time. But I certainly like to try to make sure that I'm bringing value to Texas Southern University, as it's done me a lot, and it's helped me take care of my family. So I have a great appreciation for Texas Southern.
Yeah, no doubt.
And a lot of the other faculty. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so one of the other things, you talk about a lot on your show, and, because you guys try to cram so much in at one time, and sometimes I know there's more that you have to say. So I want to ask you here early on, we're early into the football season here. Just talked about Michael Vick and Deshaun Jackson. Again, both still early in their tenure, both got their first wins this past week in dramatic fashion in their own ways. But we look at the economics, just thinking again about the economics of hiring these coaches so far and how things have worked out. You look at Norfolk State University. I was there for their first game of Michael Vick, and there were 19,000 fans in that stadium on Thursday night, which it seats 30,000. It's the largest HBCU FCS stadium on the East Coast, and I think second only to Jackson State. So, it got 19,000 on a Thursday night, which is really good. And then last week, playing against their longtime rival and and family member Virginia State, they had 23,000. So this is a place that averages usually around 16,000, but that's after usually you've had homecoming. It hasn't even had homecoming yet. Economically, can you talk about just, again, without even having run the numbers, or maybe you have, I don't know, but how much of an economic impact has that hiring just already had on Norfolk State University, a program that has pretty much lived in the shadows of its basketball program for its entirety of its 90 years?
Yeah, it's significant. And to your point, you're talking about the largest on-campus HBCU stadium, to your point. And you put 19,000 on a Thursday. Let's say that again. It was on a Thursday to open things up. That is significant. I saw a video where he was signing his jersey in terms of a Norfolk State that had his iconic number 7 on there with the Vic on the back, signing it so they can generate additional revenue for that program. So you make a major investment in terms of bringing somebody out like that, but you already see the return on investment. I'm on the MEAC weekly football calls. It's increased the number of folks that want to come in and have conversations across the board with the MEAC. I've seen that personally where it was. So that's another example that people don't necessarily count on. I've seen the number of folks in terms of interest and stories they're getting with local, regional, and even some national stories. You talk about the fact that you had First Take. It's been all over the place. But the first place they had to go was to where? Norfolk State University. That is significant, major economic input that you have. I haven't run the numbers because I'm waiting for everything come out, but I did the numbers on Jackson State. I did some numbers in terms of Texas Southern University and Norfolk State in terms of what they do on the basketball side. And you're talking about multiple millions of dollars in terms of value that somebody like that brings. Watch and wait. Their enrollment numbers are going to go up. Their application numbers will go up. That's direct money that goes into Norfolk State University. So, and that's not even measuring whether he'll have some success and how fast he will have success. And so those things are things that are catching lightning in a bottle in regards to what that looks like. So it's significant. We certainly can say that without a doubt in terms of what he brings to the table. The interest now that Norfolk State has, obviously already with a rich basketball resource in historic nature, particularly recently what they've been able to do with the NCAA. So you partner what they're able to do basketball, both men's and women's. Obviously the women's has changed coaching. We'll see if they can continue that trajectory. But you match that with football, and now you have it on both sides. That's going to be dynamic. Watch Norfolk State in the next couple of years. Obviously, a big part of this is about their ability to win, and that has to be done on the field, and nobody can make that happen. But if they get a little fortune there, you're going to see something that you hadn't quite seen before. It will be magical.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, I was at the first game, and you talk about the Michael Vick jerseys with the Norfolk State, the 7, but man, they had every jersey that the man has ever worn. Back to his high school, probably even his Pee Wee jersey. So there's a lot of excitement there around him, for sure. And we get into and then it also brings us to the new economic realities of college sports in terms of athletes and securing athletes and paying athletes. You know what I mean? We've had the quarterback. We've had you just named the quarterback, but you hear in Norfolk that there's been investment in certain players that are made. So it's very interesting how this the new economics faces everything. And then you talk about Deshaun Jackson coming to Delaware State. Not to pick a scab, but I do remember when the former VP of Intercollegiate Athletics at FAMU was making his case to move to the SWAC, and he said, folks aren't excited about going up to Delaware. You don't have to go to Delaware State. But now, I mean, hey, it's early, but it seems like the returns are going to be interesting for them as well. And then them having that game at Lincoln Field, obviously. It's not a new thing to have HBCUs play at NFL stadiums, but you've never seen a Norfolk State, Delaware State football game. You don't think of those matchups in an NFL stadium on a Thursday night, no less, nationally broadcast, and First Take will be there as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. Incredible matchup. A lot of synergy and eyeballs will be on that event. Even if you don't get the number of folks, but what we just saw from Thursday, who are we to say that they couldn't put some significant people in there on Thursday as well? Another example in terms of what you're talking about is the fact how the MEAC partnered with the Baltimore Ravens, which had a lot to do with Michael Vick and Jackson in terms of being able to use a professional facility and taking it out of Norfolk and all the synergy they got with pulling that event off. So there are a lot of components that we're starting to see with the eyeballs on the MEAC. And you're absolutely right that a lot of the decision that went into FAMU's decision was talking about the lack of that. Well, now that has changed. So it'll be interesting to see how that continues to build. And you have to give a lot of credit to those presidents and chancellors, frankly, at Norfolk State and Delaware State. That's not an easy decision because you're going across the grain. And while that was kind of the hot thing to do, oftentimes you really have to make sure you can get your board on board as well as officials in the state to see the value that you come in. And you talk about Delaware State, and now they are having a success in regards to what they're going to do with the facilities there. How much did that tie in of folks seeing the value and the synergy of what Delaware State is putting together? So it creates a whole different vibe. And we never know how this may even help to some degree with expansion, some of the things they're looking at. So it's the small things that don't necessarily get directly reported to that. So the points that you're making in terms of understanding what this looks like from a different perspective is going to be fascinating. And it has its trickle-down effects to some degree. Now Virginia State, in terms of their rivalry game, they got a couple of more eyeballs to a game that's huge in that area. But people now outside of that wanted to have a little more interest in terms of what was going on. So what it means, people like Dr. Henry Fraser III, the president, Madula, in terms of what he was able to do and the great things he's doing at Virginia State. They just became R2 status. For those that don't realize what that is, that's from an academic perspective. The other highest level is R1. So they're right there. So we went from 11 HBCUs essentially that were the R2 status, and now we have 12. And we have a 13th with Howard moving to R1 status and number 12 now. So we expanded with 2 additional HBCUs that are talking about the strength of these colleges in terms of not just what they're doing in athletics, but what they're doing in academics in terms of the academic R2 status. So that's significant. You talk about Bowie State now has a chance to get a part of that with Delaware State. So it even provides our healthy and historic Division II programs in terms of that. And I know you had a question out there, and I'm glad that you brought it to the table with people questioning whether you should have these matchups. So if you're going to play up, my question is you certainly should play, and excuse me for using this term because I don't want to insult those D2 programs in terms of playing down, but you need to play your brothers and sisters in D2, particularly those that make sense in terms of regional matchups with historic platforms where fans want to see because they're showing you, they're coming up to the game. So they're telling you more than just their value and their interest, which to some degree kind of brings up Tennessee State with their fans telling you the games they go to, those HBCU games. A&T, we'll see what that looks like. They continue to support their team, but their bigger matchup is against HBCUs, Hampton as well. So the fact that you're aligning this and you see how this matches up, even with playing the CIAA and the SIAC teams, shows you how this goes beyond that. Again, I bring it back to the ecosystem. What we call the HBCU Sports Ecosystem is extremely important and highly valuable. And the better that we put that lexicon out there and start talking about that, it helps those ADs, VPs of athletics, the commissioners, the presidents, the chancellors be able to provide dollar value to that brand to increase what they're requesting when they go to the table to negotiate sponsorships and partnerships on any level, even if they're multimedia deals, talking about what the SWAC is bringing to the table with the SWAC TV. You all know better than anybody from a multimedia perspective, what that provides and how there is synergy in being able to showcase and broadcast your own thing going on at your HBCU or a conference for that matter.
That's a great point. I definitely appreciate you for bringing that up because that was one of those things. It's just again, having gone to Winston-Salem State especially at the time that I did, when we were attempting to make the Division I jump, it makes sense. It just makes sense. Again, these are you talk about Virginia State and Norfolk State. I mean, what is Norfolk State going to do? Take Virginia State off their schedule and play some other team that no one cares about. That literally is their highest non-homecoming game year after year for more than a decade, since the rivalry with Hampton. They still play it each year, but it's a bit different. And you talk about North Carolina A&T, they got away from playing Winston-Salem State for a long time, but now that they're in the CAA, even though this is a game that every time that this game has been played in the century, it is sold out. The only non-homecoming sellout besides 1 year of the North Carolina Central rivalry. So no, it's
just a business proposition, Stephen. At some point, the business side of this that we always talk about and ask them to do more of, you can't say on one side, talk about the business side of it, and then the other side ignore it. Either you are about the business or not. And so at some point, some of this just makes good sense. I mean, dollars and cents.
There you have it. Well, again, I do appreciate you, Dr. Cavil, for coming on and talking to us about what you guys have going on there at Jackson State tomorrow, and as we now found out, other places as well. So we'll keep a lookout for that. You make sure you read about it on HBCUGameDay.com, the HBCU Sports Ecosystems, and all the great folks that you guys are going to have there. But again, we can't get off of here today and talk about HBCUs without talking about this, unfortunately, which is, the headlines that, I've been writing all day in regards to our HBCUs, on lock. I wrote this earlier today, but on lockdown following threats. Many of these have been lifted. So, make sure we'll go up and do some updates a little bit later. But Virginia State University first, then Hampton, then began to spread further south, Southern University, Bethune-Cookman, Alabama State as well. And we even got to the point where tonight, when you're talking about the intersection of sports and everything else that's going on, that we have Clark Atlanta versus Fort Valley State. This is a game that has been looked forward to by these two schools. Again, two Division II schools who, as you say, rising tides lift all boats. The two Division II schools who will get a chance to play on ESPN2 on a Thursday night game. Something that, we haven't always had. Impacted by this as well. Luckily, they are off of lockdown at this point, and it looks as though the game is going to go on. But as someone who, not only educated at HBCUs, but actually works there now on campus as an educator, I don't know if a lot of people can understand the kind of the helplessness of feeling of a lockdown and what that entails. I'm just wondering what your thoughts were on just kind of the entire thing as it evolved.
I think when you talk about the entire landscape, it's a sad day when these come to fruition, but it's a framework of where we see the country is at this time. And we've seen this as tensions has rise previously, and now we see it again. And you have folks that are making these call-ins, credit to the universities, because oftentimes we are so busy with everything else that we're doing that we don't want to see it as a serious threat, but you have to take it as a serious threat, investigate it, report it, and take it as such to make sure that you keep people as safe as possible. The incident that is pushing a lot of this actually happened on a college campus. We've seen very deadly incidents on various college campuses. So we have to take these things serious in terms of what that looks like. So I think it is endemic. again, in terms of where we are at this time in this country, where the rhetoric has gone beyond just talk, that we see people losing their lives in regards to how people feel in terms of what people are saying. So I'm prayerful that we find a way to continue to move forward in a way that we can have this discussions and dissent, discourse, if you would, in a manner that allows folks to be able to move forward with their lives.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You hit it right on the head. I think for sure. We're just it's unfortunate, but we kind of have not to be. It's unfortunate while we're it's upsetting. It's not necessarily surprising given the way that things not only work now, but how they have kind of always worked in terms of the Black community, as far as when people are upset, looking for something to take it out on people. And I think for sure. One thing that we both know is that words have power, and the words that, as I said earlier, once the cat's out of the bag, it's hard to pull it back in. And so I think we should all be mindful of the things that we say and of the things that we put our support behind, because words do have impact. And thankfully today so far, and hopefully moving forward, all we have is words, have heard as words. And there will be no actions behind them. But, of course, as you'll be going to, you'll be traveling, pray for you to be safe. I'll be at football games, and many of us will be at football games, this weekend. So as always, we look to be vigilant while still enjoying ourselves and taking care of each other. So, I thank you, Dr. Cavil, for coming on. You got your show going on, so I definitely appreciate you for giving us of your time and your expertise, and looking forward to hearing about how successful the event was, and maybe one day SJG will get an invite to. Maybe
we'll work on that. I'll invite you on the show. The next thing is to put you on the lecture series, so we got to find a way to get you involved for sure.
Yeah, man, I gotta get some more letters behind my name. I gotta get an MA. So they let me teach for a semester. They told me I need some more work, so we'll go after. So I appreciate it.
I appreciate you as well. Do that.
All right, guys. Well, look, this has been Verified Sources with SJG on HBCU Game Day. Please make sure that you're going to download us on the podcast. Make sure you guys are supporting Dr. Cavil and Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on their podcast. Shout out to you guys for being number one. We're coming for you. I appreciate it.
I would have it no other way, Stephen. That's right.
As you said, with Ashley Robinson, obviously people admire what he's done. And, that it's always to pull it up. Everybody trying to pull up to that next level. So salute to you there and for everything that you do as well. And thanks for everybody who tuned in. Thanks for Angela Johnson for the gift. We definitely appreciate that. And man, we got to have you all more often, man. People give us money when you're on here, so we'll have to make that happen.
Let's make it work.
All right, guys. We will catch you in the next one. Until next time, be good and be good to each other.